listening to the Pohu Experience.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Pohu Experience. You know, the other day someone asked me, like, what do you call it the Pohu Experience? Like, what is this, like, pohhuexp? What does it all mean? And to be completely honest with you, there is no, like, special story behind this. It was just, I wanted to start a podcast. I didn't know what to call it. I wanted to call it something smart, something quirky. And at the end, I kind of just copied the Joe Rogan Experience. I thought it was going to be a podcast not strictly about food, so experience kind of fits. I just really went with that and, you know, Googled it. pohhuexp is not used by anybody. It is easily Googleable. So I just went with that. That's where the whole name came from. Nothing special. I do want to start off this episode by saying, like, thank you so much for everyone that DM'd me, left a comment, welcoming me back to this podcast, because it was just really heartwarming. When I released the last episode, there was a part of me that was like, oh man, what if, like, you know, everybody just don't care? Everybody just kind of left. I have to build it from scratch. There's always that fear when I put something out there, but to my delight, it was an unfounded fear. There was a lot of welcoming arms, and I just really want to say thank you. It feels really, really good to be back. And so today, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is Subway. Not the mode of transportation, the fast food chain. And because Subway has kind of been my go-to meal for the past couple of months. If you've been following my Q&As or watching my IG for the last couple of months, you'll notice that I start talking a lot more about Subway. And it's because it has become my main meal of choice, or my main food, so to say. I guess the way to put it is it's part of my main menu, right? And currently, my current lifestyle, an ideal day's diet includes Subway because it saves me time, hits the calories that I need to hit, and also hits the macros that I need to hit with very, very little effort. I was thinking back, like, how did this all start? And it's actually a funny story. It all started back then when the family caught the rona, in other words, COVID. I just want to call it the rona because I never called it the rona before, and it just sounds a lot more funner and a lot less serious. So yes, a couple of months back, the whole family caught the rona. Luckily, I think we caught Omicron, and that's the first time we ever caught it. So it wasn't that bad. Like, the symptoms wasn't that bad at all, but we were all down. The main thing that hit all of us was just feeling tired, right? Feeling tired, loss of appetite, muscle soreness, sore throat. But besides all that, all of us were still kind of functioning. We weren't bedridden or anything. We were just kind of forced to take a break. And so usually when the family is sick, my main priority is make sure everybody's getting in their calories. Like, I don't care about nutrition, macros, and micros whenever somebody's sick. Like, when one of the kiddos sick or mommy is sick, my number one priority is calories. Because in my mind, calories is the most important when you're sick. When you're sick, you don't have the appetite. It's hard enough to maybe keep down food or eat food. And when you're sick, what are you lacking? You're lacking energy. And energy comes from what? It comes from calories. Doesn't matter if it comes from an apple or a chocolate bar. Obviously, in an ideal world, you would eat that apple, you would eat all the veggies, all the lean protein while you are sick. But when you're sick, you don't feel like any of that. You probably can't stomach any of that. But some juices, some chocolate bars, some not so nutrient dense stuff is a lot easier to down. And so usually when anyone's sick in the family, I just make sure they can eat. They can eat something. And I don't think the kiddos have caught on, but basically anything they ask for when they're sick, I'll let them have it. But it's fine. You want that chocolate bar? Eat the chocolate bar. The main thing is I make sure you're getting your fluids in and you're getting the calories in. Then as you're getting better, then we go back to, you know, eating more nutrient-rich whole foods. So back then, while taking care of everybody, I myself also didn't really have much appetite at all. And I was just surfing Uber Eats. I didn't know what to get. A lot of things didn't look appetizing. And I saw Subway. And I thought, hey, Subway is something that, you know, I don't really have an appetite. And my previous experiences with Subway was that I loved everything about it, right? I think Subways are very tasty. I think they're great, like, you know, macros, micros, and the calories aren't that high either. You could make it high with the sauces and all that, but it's not super, super high. What I didn't like about Subway previously was that it made me hungry really, really fast. I could have a foot long, right? Like 2 of the 6 inches. I could have a foot long at 12 o'clock. At about 1:30, I'll probably be hungry again. And I don't know why. It just always happens whenever I have Subway. So then Subway just became this thing. I just felt it's just not efficient. I could eat a higher volume of food for less calories and feel fuller for longer by eating other stuff. And so Subway was just kind of never on my list. And if I really wanted to indulge, I wouldn't be indulging in Subway. You know, I'd go for KFC, McDonald's, Burger King, something else, not Subway. But anyways, this time when we had the Rona, I just thought, okay, I'm just going to have a Subway. I'm going to get a tuna Subway, which is the highest calories. So I can make sure that if I eat 1 or 2 a day, I'm still getting roughly 1,000 plus calories. So at least I know I'm eating okay for myself, so I could take care of everyone else as well. And so that's what what I did. Basically, for that 1 week that we were recovering, I was having tuna Subway every single day. I even added one of those roast chicken breast patties, which I feel kind of cheated because it's called a roast chicken breast. And I guess the patty is made from chicken breast, and the macros are pretty good too. It's pretty high in protein, but come on, man. It's like a sausage. It's like you don't know what was mixed in it to create this thing. It's not exactly chicken breast. Anyways, off tangent complaint. So after we recovered from the Rona, I was still feeling kind of, I don't feel like cooking. I don't feel like washing dishes. I don't feel like preparing ingredients. Subway has felt very, very easy. Just get on my phone, open up Uber Eats, order it, and it'll be at my door within like half an hour. But I did change. So after we recovered, instead of having a tuna, which was the highest calories, I started to be more mindful of my calories and macros as well. So I started to get the chicken strip Subway, which I feel this is the actual chicken breast Subway because it comes in chunks of chicken breast, like the actual meat. When I was ordering the tuna Subway, I would have no sauce because I felt the tuna was really, really tasty already. But when I tried no sauce with the chicken strips one, it was not tasty at all. It was very dry and it was kind of miserable. So whenever I ordered the chicken strips one, I would use honey mustard as the sauce, which later I found out chicken strips is the same thing as a chicken teriyaki. It's just they use a teriyaki sauce on it. Sometimes I'd order that, but either way, I started to basically eat this every day because it was easy to hit my macros. It was easy to manage my calories, and just everything about it felt really good. So a normal meal for me from Subway since then, or even like today, would be a 6-inch chicken sub. I'll add no cheese. I'll have the honey mustard. I will add 1 or 2 of the roasted chicken breast patty things because that helps me top up the proteins that I need. And to be honest, I do feel kind of full. I'm not hungry so fast after it. If I really think about it, it can easily last me 3 to 4 hours. Now, I don't know what changed. I don't know if Rona changed me. I don't know if I'm just growing older, and I don't know what it is, but this time, which it just felt kind of weird because I did not expect myself to enjoy it so much. I did not expect it to be so easy to hit calories and macros with it, and it's still going on now. It's still going on today. I don't know when I'm going to get off of it. I do have the urge to cook now, though. I do miss cooking. Cooking for me is a joy, right? I enjoy it. I enjoy the whole process, the going to the market, getting your raw ingredients, the prepping the raw ingredients, the cooking it from scratch, being in control of every ingredient I put into all of my dishes. I do miss that, but currently it feels like I'm still going to stick to Subway, especially now with the podcast going on, because the way I'm doing all my content now is very different than before. I don't know if I mentioned this publicly, but those that have had private conversations with me would know that, back then I have no plans for all of my content. Like the daily videos, I hit that record button and I just talk about the first thing that comes to my mind. Like I don't have a script, I don't have a plan. And usually it goes kind of well, right? Because remember, the daily videos I was doing was at most 3 to 5 minutes long. The podcast was usually a lot shorter as well. There was 15 to 20 minutes. And usually I had questions or topics in place. If there was any planning, it was really, really minimum. I just open up IG, pick 4 questions, answer those 4 questions, and be done. And the daily post was the same thing. The picture would be whatever I would be eating or the family's eating that day. I'd take a picture of it. And then the captions below would be what's on my mind. I'd sit down, type it all out within 5 minutes, proofread it for spelling mistakes, and that's it, and post. That was how I was grinding all my content before. Now, it's a lot more different. Now for the weekly letters, I'm literally sitting down 1 to 2 hours, really trying to get my thoughts out, going back, editing it, reading it through 2 to 3 times, making sure that, format is right, what I'm trying to portray is right, like putting a lot more, I guess the word is heart, not that I didn't have heart in it before, but I'm putting a lot more effort into the things I'm making now. And with the podcast, I just realized I spent the past 3 days coming up with the script. And by script is, I don't have all the words laid out on, I'm not reading anything right now. I'm still talking as per normal, like a conversation, but I've made kind of like a PowerPoint presentation point by point about topics I want to talk about and the little details that I want to hit. And so content creation these days has been taking a lot more time, and I don't mind. I love it. I really feel this is where I wanted to get through. All that grind in the past few years, I wanted to get here. I wanted to get to a point where, you guys are here and I can really give you my all. I can really put all my heart and effort into creating what I feel is the best content I can create and keep growing from here. But anyway, that's a tangent. My whole point is, even though I'm posting less now, it actually feels like I'm spending more time on each piece of content that I'm creating, which makes Subway a really nice, okay, I don't have to worry about my meals. I don't have to worry about my macros or calories. I know that anytime I need food, I can go on my phone. It's going to be at my doorstep in 30 minutes. With this year's goal of mine being being, making this podcast as best as it can be, as consistent as it can be. I think there's going to be a lot more Subways this year. So yeah, each one of my Subway meals, when I'm calculating it, it's roughly like 500, 600 calories. It's not that high. And if I have it twice a day, that's still only 1,200 calories. For me to maintain, I need to eat about 2,000 plus. And currently I'm on a deficit because I'm trying to cut away the excess fat from the last bulk I made. So I'm eating roughly like 2,000, 2,200. And so everything fits kind of nicely. And so, to give you a little breakdown on Subway, right? You could actually go on Google and, go to their main site. They have all the numbers there, which is kind of convenient. So the chicken Subway that I have for a 6-inch, it's 324 calories. And that includes cheese. On the Subway website, it says it includes cheese, and I have mine without cheese. So mine's probably lower in calories, maybe even, 290 something or 300 calories. Whatever it is, it's not a lot at all. It's actually quite decent for the volume of food there is, and it's 25 grams of protein, but still a little bit lower than I would have liked. So I would have those roast chicken breast patties. Each one of those roast chicken breast patties is 81 calories with 13 grams of protein. Two of those is another additional 20 plus grams of protein, which makes my one meal almost 50 grams of protein, which is kind of where I want it, because if I don't hit that, I end up falling short with my daily protein. And to kind of give you an overview of the whole Subway menu, the highest calorie Subway is actually the tuna Subway, which was what I was eating when I had the Rona. It is 507 calories per 6-inch, and it's 22 grams of protein. The lowest calorie Subway is the Veggie Delight, obviously. It's only 250 calories, but it has very low protein since there's no meat in there, so it's only 10 grams of protein. Sometimes when I'm lacking veggies for the day, I'll order their Veggie Delight salad, which I gotta say, it's not the best tasting. It's really not wallet friendly, but it conveniently helps me hit my goals, so sometimes I still get it. On the website, it says it's 93 calories, which I feel it's wrong because Veggie Delight is basically just lettuce. Lettuce is like almost 0 calories. It's very, very low in calories. And I usually have my Veggie Delight without tomatoes or cucumbers, though it shouldn't make a difference because those are really low in calories as well. I feel a portion of Veggie Delight should be closer to 50 to 60 calories. Of course, it depends on the amount of sauce that you use. I still use honey mustard, but if they give me too much, I'll scrape it off. Not just because of the calories, but it doesn't taste that good when it's drenched in sauce. But when it's just a little bit, I'd say roughly 1 tablespoon of the honey mustard, it's pretty perfect. Like it tastes a lot better. But yeah, that's basically the whole deal of me and Subway for these past couple of months. Like I gotta tell you, I definitely did not see this coming. Because before we caught the Rona, I was cooking all that big pot of minced pork with the gochujang sauce. There was a lot of home cooking going on, and I really felt like, I think I got a routine going, and I'm prepping a lot more delicious food that I'm able to track perfectly. I think this is where I'm going to keep evolving. And then Rona hit, and I went the opposite direction to go for the most convenient thing, and I ended up enjoying the convenient thing, and it just happened to fit into my current lifestyle, and so we're going to stick with that. That's life. Life throws you a lot of curveballs, and sometimes you just got to roll with it. And so the second thing I wanted to talk about was something I saw on IG, and it's a question that I get asked, not as common, but common enough, like I'll get it once a week instead of like a once a day thing. But I did see it come up a few times this week, and I thought, this is a question I want to talk about on the podcast because I feel it's easier to explain here. I think even in text form, I can probably get the message across, but it would be clear hearing it from me. The question that I want to answer today is losing the final 2 to 3 kilograms overrated? I'm guessing this comes from a lot of people that are deep into their weight loss journey and very, very close to their goals, but are struggling with those final 2 to 3 kilograms. And I think a big part of it is just the mental part. You start to get a little bit anxious. You start to get a little bit impatient as you see the number get closer to where you want. And so everything feels harder. You're irritated a lot more easily. The daily fluctuations on the scale affect you a little bit more than usual. So it feels harder. But the fact is this, if you're 2 to 3 kg away from your goal weight, there's nothing more you got to do but to keep doing what you're doing. Like that's essentially what it is. There's no secret in how to lose those final 2 to 3 kg. But the question is losing the final 2 to 3 kg overrated? I think the question you have to ask is it worth it, right? Say you are currently 55 kilograms, but you want to hit 52 for whatever reason, personal reasons, or you just think the number 52 looks really nice, or you were 52 back when you were a teenager and that's the number you want to hit. Whatever reason, fair game, that's your goal, your life, you get to choose what you want to do, but sometimes you have to ask yourself if it is worth it, because at that point, you're not talking about health anymore, right? 55, 52 is very likely both within normal BMI, both weights you could be be at your best both weights. You could look your best as well. It's just a matter of can you accept it or not? Because the fact is this, if you are thinking that from 55 to 52, you're going to look a lot more different, that is going to be false. You're not going to look much different at all. In fact, it can turn into an unhealthy thing where you reach 52 and you're like, oh, this still isn't how I want to look and feel. Maybe I got to lose to 50. And you end up going even further when it's really, really unnecessary. And what you're looking for is actually not in that number at all. So to answer the question, is losing the final 2 to 3 kg overrated? In my mind, 100% is. But as I say that, I want to say this early is if you're somebody that has that final few kilograms to lose and you choose to lose it, that's all fair game. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just if you're starting to question whether it's worth it or not, I'm going to tell you it's maybe not if you're questioning it. Like this, does that make sense? Because here's what happens. I think all of us on a weight loss journey are expecting something when we hit that goal weight, right? We're expecting more than just the weight. We're expecting more than just the number. We're expecting some kind of happiness, some kind of a little bit more confidence, some kind of being treated differently by others. And telling you from firsthand experience, that's not how it goes. I was there. I was there too. When I hit my goal weight, I felt very empty. I felt very empty in the sense of I didn't feel happier. I wasn't more confident with myself. Sure, I was wearing smaller size clothing than I was before, but whenever I walk out the door, whenever I go meet people, I wasn't booming with confidence. I wasn't feeling super great about myself. My insecurities, my low self-esteem, they still stuck around even though I hit my goal weight. For me personally, it took some time to get used to that. It was like, oh crap, man, all this time I've been chasing this, hoping for this result, and at the end of the day, all I did was end up wasting money because I got to get a new wardrobe. But I guess, okay, of course, back then means it wasn't wasted. I got my health back, but everything else I didn't get. And so chasing a particular number, I think sometimes you have to be clear with yourself is why are you chasing that number? Why is that number so important to you? Because chances are you're not going to find what you're looking for when you hit that number. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is the difference between 55 and 52, those like just merely 2 to 3 kilograms, you're not going to look much different. You're not going to feel different either, but you're going to have a harder time in your day-to-day life. Now, harder, I mean, because at 52 kilograms, your TDEE is going to be lower than at 55. That means you need to eat less food to maintain. While at 55, you get to eat more food to maintain. Now, what difference does that make? That's really just the quality of life. At 55, you can probably go out and, chill out with your friends, have a guy's night out, girls' night out, and not really worry about the calories. Where at 52, you're like, oh man, I can't afford that extra 200-300 calories. Or not, this becomes a surplus for me and I'm going to gain the weight. I think a lot of times we get trapped by that number and not realize that the number we hope to give us confidence not only doesn't give us confidence, but ends up imprisoning our everyday life, and we are so stuck and hung up on that one number that we become even more unhappy without actually knowing it, without actually realizing it was a goal setting issue and not an issue with diet, not an issue with workout, not an issue with anything. It's just decision making and goal setting. We set a goal that's too hard on ourselves and we could totally look very similarly but feel a little bit better and have a little bit more margin for error if we let go of that number and was just a little bit higher than it. Because remember, we're talking about the final 2 to 3 kilograms. Right? We're not talking about the first 20 or 30 kilograms. Like if you were like me, really overweight, obese, morbidly obese, yeah, we got to lose that weight. We got to get into a healthy BMI. That should be goal number one. There's no argument there. There's no, is that worth it or not? That's always worth it. That's the number one goal. Talking about the final 2-3 kilograms, what I'm talking about is when you're already within normal BMI and you're just chasing a particular number for whatever reason. And I think that's something to think about when you are there. There's really no right or wrong answer, but there's truths that you need to face. I think the last thing you want to do is if you're actually dealing with mental health issues such as insecurities, lack of confidence, self-esteem issues, that number is not going to get you there. And you might end up in this really bad cycle where you just make that number go lower and lower and lower. And a lot of times that's where eating disorders come from, like anorexia. Anorexia is a lot more about the mind, the fear of eating food, the fear of looking a certain way than it is like your actual diet. And so is it overrated? Yes, it is overrated, but if you insist on hitting that number, losing that final 2, there's also nothing wrong with that. Totally support you, cheering for you. Just want you to at least have the full story. Which brings us to the final topic for today, and it's going to be, I think, a little bit of a longer one, and it is about Gary Vee. And I think only if you followed me in the very, very beginning, like 2019, would you know Gary's impact on me and how I do all my content and social media and all that. If not, I realize I don't really talk about him that much. I'll have like one or two pieces of content dedicated to him, and that's it. But a lot of things change in the past 2 years. This is a topic I kind of want to talk about now because I think in the future, a lot of things I say, I will reference this, but without knowing the whole story, the reference isn't going to make sense. And so let me start from the very beginning. I first discovered Gary Vee on a Chase Jarvis interview. Now, Chase Jarvis is a photographer, a well-known photographer, and this was around like 2013. This is, before I did IG, before I even started my weight loss journey. Remember, I started around 2015. This was 2013, even before I had the kiddos. And around that time, I dedicated a lot of time into learning photography because I thought with the kiddos coming along, I wanted to up my photography skills to be able to take better, family photos or photos of the kids. So I was going deep down into the photography rabbit hole. And while I was watching one of Chase Jarvis's interviews, Gary Vee was on it. He got my attention. So back then, remember, 2013, social media was still very new. Social media platforms weren't that new, but marketing on it was very, very new, or utilizing it to some kind of, building an audience or a business-like structure. It was still very unexplored. Gary was on this interview and he was talking about following your passion. He was encouraging everybody to start their socials because social media has given everybody a chance to follow their passions and make a living off of it. I forgot how he phrased it, but basically the cost of attention was very, very low with social media. You're able to reach a large audience that was not possible before. Like before, to reach a large audience, you had to be on magazines, TV, radio, billboards. Those are the main things before. But now with social media, the cost of entry is very, very low and there are no rules. If you're really passionate about something and you kept making content about it, there's a high chance that you would find people that share the same passion as you. And from there, it's very possible to form a community and have an audience to make a living off of. One of the key points Gary was saying, why work for a high paying job that you hate, that you absolutely hate, you hate getting out of bed every single day, when you can get a moderately paid job or maybe even a survival amount of money type job, but you get to do it every single day and you absolutely love it. Now, that's not the thing that I resonated with because I've been a trader for a really long time. While I don't love it, I know I'm adequate at it and I don't mind it at all. The part that resonated with me was being able to make something out of something that I was passionate about. And back then I wasn't thinking about creating an IG for like weight loss and all that. Remember, I haven't been on my journey. Back then I was thinking about maybe I can make photography into a thing. It was a mini passion, not a big passion, but if I could make this into a brand of some sort and I could grow this brand, that sounded kind of fun. It would be like a side thing that I did. Because for me, there was always a part of me that knew that I wanted to be on the creation route. I didn't know what it was. And for the longest time, I thought I wanted to do music, which I'll share that story another time. But a big part of this podcast coming back full scale, like I'm putting so much effort into it, is because of my realization that, music isn't the thing that I really wanted to chase. I like the idea of making music. Ultimately, I just wanted a reason, an avenue to create. But anyway, getting off topic, point is, Gary's message resonated with me a lot. And the way he talked about it was just so different. Like he seemed like this tech guy, CEO guy, but he was talking very street, talking very normal, being very real, and really just breaking down all of my fears before for not wanting to start a YouTube channel or not wanting to start a podcast. I had the same insecurities. I was afraid what other people would think of me. I was afraid of, being judged. I think one of the things that really hit me, what Gary said was, nobody cares. And what he means by nobody cares is, look, at the end of the day, nobody is going to bed thinking about how much your video or podcast sucked. If it sucked, they're not going to listen to it. That's that. And you got to put more effort into it to make it good enough that they will listen to it. Nobody's judging you as hard as you are judging yourself. That was his message. And I thought that is actually very right. That is actually quite accurate. I am my worst enemy when it comes to creation. I'm judging myself before I give it an opportunity. But anyway, that was my first encounter with Gary Vee. And over the next few years, I followed him. And as I was following his content, I felt, wow, this is a guy that's basically, he's doing everything for free. And following all his content, it feels like he's sharing a lot of really in-depth stuff that I would likely see in a course, like a business course or a social media course of some sort. But this guy sharing everything he's doing for free, and he's doing it in real time. And it just felt like, wow, this is a guy that's really, really passionate about what he calls day trading attention, about social media. And he's trying to share this thing that he has advanced knowledge in so everybody can hop on board as well. It was the first time I saw such a selfless influencer, right? Because everybody back then, you kind of knew like, all right, anybody you kind of looked up to, at the end of the day, there was a course to buy, right? Or there is some product or service that is attached behind the influencer. Like that was back in 2013. That's how everybody was functioning. And it was normal. There was nothing wrong with that. And it was the first time I saw somebody just giving away their best stuff for free. And I guess over time, I low-key just kind of wanted to be like him. Like, man, I want to be somebody that gives away my best stuff for free. Because as his audience, as his follower, I felt really, really good. I felt, wow, this is somebody I could trust, I could look up to. And, even though we've basically never spoken, I think we've messaged back and forth once or twice, but he would never remember that. But I basically looked at him as a mentor in social media marketing, and a lot of times in life as well. A lot of things he said, I felt wasn't even lessons in social media. It was like lessons in life. And I really took that to heart. I should have said this in the beginning, like why I'm talking about Gary Vee now, because I feel he's changed, right? I feel there is two Gary Vee's. If I were to define it, it would be Gary Vee pre-NFTs and Gary Vee after NFTs. The Gary Vee I'm talking about now, like how I got to know him, how I'm following all the social media stuff, how I'm looking up to him as a mentor. This is pre-NFT Gary. Post-NFT Gary, I'll talk about that very, very soon, but I thought I was supposed to mention this at the very beginning and I missed it in my notes, so sorry about that. But anyways, back to the story. If I were to think about it, I think I would credit Gary Vee almost 100% of all my wins and successes, or like my IG, my daily videos, even this podcast. I would give him a majority of the credit, because without him, I wouldn't have started. I just wouldn't have the courage to start. I wouldn't see what is the point of making daily videos when I knew it was crap, when I knew I didn't have the skill set for it. Gary's message is kind of like, look, you don't have to be the best at everything. You can keep trying and keep improving. And that's what will ultimately get you to grow year after year. You hear this from a lot of like motivational people, right? And I've heard them all too. And just none of them really spoke to me the way Gary's stuff spoke to me. Like for some reason, I was able to hear when Gary says it, but even though I know it's all super cliche things. For the longest time, I was always afraid of messing up. And because I was afraid of messing up, I wouldn't even start. I was just frozen. Gary Vee is the one who helped me into this do, fail, repeat mentality. Like that's what I had on my phone for like the past 5 years. My phone wallpaper is 3 words: do, comma, fail, comma, repeat, period. And that was really just a reminder to myself that if I have an idea, that I should just go ahead with it. An idea will never be successful the first time. And so when it fails, repeat. Do it again. Think about what I can do to improve it. Do it again. It's likely going to fail again, and then repeat. That's where growth comes from. That's how you move forward. And I think a very literal example of that is you could actually go back to my IGTV videos and you go look at episode 1, 2, 3, all the way to 100, 200, then episode 3, 4, 5. Like I could see it myself. The improvement is there. It's undeniably there. I mean, now when I go back to look at those videos, I got to be honest, like a lot of it is super cringe, but I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to leave it up there because it is part of the work that got me to where I am now. Speaking in front of a camera for that long is what made me more comfortable with just speaking like this on a podcast. I think on this podcast, you could even go to like the very first episode, which is like in 2017. I swear, man, it sounds like I'm dead. It sounds like I have no life, no soul, and just dead. It's been a long journey. But anyways, off to a tangent again. So basically, Gary Vee was like my hero, was somebody that I looked up to, was somebody that I was very thankful for, that I considered my mentor, that I followed very closely, and it brought in a lot of great things. All the work I've put into is what got all of us here together. This community that we've built, a lot of my mindset, my work ethic was molded from the stuff Gary Vee was sharing. Now, this is where I divide him into the post-NFT Gary Vee. So now, the Gary Vee today, right? The Gary Vee today, which I would call Gary Vee post-NFTs, is somebody that I wouldn't follow. It's somebody that wouldn't have inspired me the way he did before. I feel kind of sad about it. I guess this is why I want to tell the story. So in 2020, Gary Vee started to talk a lot about NFTs. And, I understood it. I get all the nuances. I'm into crypto myself, so this wasn't new information to me. But for whatever reason, he was really, really excited. And so he started his own NFT project called VeeFriends. And VeeFriends is basically, it's his doodles, right? He says that, he has a passion when he was young to always doodle when he was in class. And now that he found an opportunity that he could make it into an NFT and make it into this whole investment system that everybody can trade and make money off of. He was preaching this can't fail, get rich quick scheme, which is it's such a different tone than pre-NFT Gary. When pre-NFT Gary is about following your passions, not letting anybody get into your head, being true to yourself. This is now business. This is now, I'm about to sell you something and I hope you buy it, which is also totally fine. I was ready to get on board. I was, you know what, Gary, you've helped me so much. I would dare say change my life. And if supporting you meant I invest in one of your NFTs, why not? All of the content I got from Gary was all free. There was like, I haven't spent a cent on the guy. Like, and because all the stuff that he was doing, like his wine stuff, he doesn't ship internationally. So none of those stuff I could have supported. And so he created his NFT project. He made a Discord server, which was purely dedicated to VeeFriends. And I joined it. I was just following him every step of the way as he was doing all this NFT stuff. And I saw things that I was worried about. It confirmed my worries and I just really didn't like it. Now, to take a step back, I understood crypto. I understood blockchain in the sense of it's not something that you do without doing your homework. It's not opening a bank account. Like when you open a bank account, a bank will tell you very clearly what you can and cannot do. Banks have a lot of security and systems in place to make sure you don't get scammed, to make sure that if you wrote the wrong account number that you wanted to transfer to, that money would just bounce back. You wouldn't lose money. Maybe you lose a little bit on transaction fee, but that's not life-changing. You get that money back, all is well. That's not true for crypto. That's not true for NFTs. You make a mistake, you lose everything. You put in the wrong address and send your coins, that coin just disappears. You don't know how to get it back. There's no customer service. There's nobody that can help you out if you don't educate yourself first with how everything works. And it's not as simple as registering for a Gmail account. You have to understand all the basics. And the basics being like, you got to understand what's a hot wallet, what's a cold wallet, what are exchanges, what are gas fees, what happens when you lose your code to your wallet. It's like all of this responsibility is on you, the individual. There is no help. There is nobody that can troubleshoot things for you. You mess up, that's on you. And that's what I really didn't like about crypto, because I felt, even for myself, having years of trading experience, like I understood how everything works. I understood where I have to be careful with. And I still felt, man, this feels so high risk. Like I'm double, triple checking wallet addresses to make sure it's in the right place or not. You know, all of it could just be gone in a snap of a fingers. Every time I make a transfer, if it's like a minute late, I start to panic. Like, okay, did I type something wrong? What happened? Double check. And sometimes it's just everything's processing a little bit longer than usual. Usually it's nothing, but it's like, it's a high risk thing to do. Another reason that I never got into NFTs back then is one of the only ways to get an NFT is through MetaMask. And MetaMask is basically a wallet that you install on your browser. And that was the only way that you could trade or get NFTs. And for me, it was like insane. There's no other word but insane. Like there's so much security risk there. How could all your valuables be riding on a browser? Like it made no sense to me. I'll stop myself here before I get too riled up and end up talking about other stuff. Point is, NFTs isn't something you just jump into. It's something that if you have an audience and you want them to hop on board with you, you need to give them proper education. You need to help them. It's a big responsibility. And that was the part that made me sad. In the Discord of VeeFriends, there was this whole section of people having questions and answers and all that. And there were just so many there of people obviously just not knowing what they're doing and they messed up. They sent the money to a wrong address. They lost all of it. There's even people there saying like, hey, Gary, I trust you. I put my life savings into this, but I put in the wrong wallet address. Can you please refund what I have? The things that people were saying were just obviously they didn't get how things worked and they messed up big time. And GaryVee's moderators just basically told the people that messed up, which was, there was a lot. There was a whole channel of people that were messing up. All their answer was, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, that's not good enough. Like, yes, Gary did make like a website or a page teaching you step by step how to get his VeeFriends and all that. But he's not going in depth into making sure that you don't fall for the normal pitfalls. You don't make these mistakes, that there is huge risk attached to it. If you don't know what you're doing, please play on the safer side. Like he wasn't doing any of that. And it disappointed me because I felt that I've been in the finance world for a really, really long time. And I understand that not everybody understands this stuff. With a bank, it's easy. You could call up the customer service and they'll sort it out for you. They'll make sure your money gets to where it wants to go, they'll make sure what product you want to buy, you buy that product. There's little risk of losing everything you have. While in crypto, that's a very real risk, and one that is very prone for somebody that doesn't understand how the system works. And with Gary's followers, we all trust him. We all trust him that whatever he's making, the NFTs and all that, we trust that it will be a great thing. Definitely, we're going to try to get it. But for the majority of people, I feel he needed to hold their hand a little bit more to make sure they at least got what they wanted to invest in and not just lose everything because of the process. And so after a while of seeing this, I still kept following Gary, even though it just didn't feel right to me. It felt very wrong. It made me quite sad. I was maybe a little bit in denial. I thought of it on Gary's side. Like, yeah, it's not exactly his fault that people messed up. You should do your due diligence. You should do your own research. You should Google stuff. You should put in your hundreds of hours of work first before you got into it. I get it. I get you can't blame Gary for that. But I also get that if I was in Gary Vee's shoes, I know that, I have these followers that would follow me whatever I say. And I know that a lot of them just are doing things blindly. And because I know that, I need to make sure they don't do it blindly and they don't mess up all the basic stuff. It's kind of my responsibility to make sure that happens. At least I feel that's my responsibility. And I feel this was the pre-Gary Vee attitude. Like everything for your audience. Your audience makes you who you are today, and you should treat them like family. You should take care of them. You should think about how to take care of them best. And that's when you get a win-win situation. You take care of your audience loves you, win-win both sides. And to give you an example of that, and I feel this is like the pre-NFT Gary's mindset in me, 2019 December is when I started to think about merch. I never wanted to do merch because I wanted to be basically like Gary Vee, right? I didn't want to sell you guys anything. I didn't want to take money. All the coaching that I've ever done, all the articles, even my email list and all that, everything is free. There is no money exchange at all. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed providing a service that's basically the service of hiring a PT or nutritionist and all that. I enjoyed giving all of that out for free. So at least if you were paying for a PT or a nutritionist, you had somewhere to compare to and can see if somebody's doing a good job or cheating you. I wanted to be that. I wanted to be your source of truth. That's why all the information I share is evidence-based. Like I don't share my thoughts. I don't share my opinions. Of course I do. And when it's my thoughts and opinions, I stress very heavily that it's my opinion. It's not facts. What I want to share here is just all the best stuff for free. So anyway, 2019, December, somebody asked on a Q&A, it's like, hey, where can I buy your merch? And back then I didn't have merch. So I was like, I don't have merch, man. But then I thought about it and I just thought, you know what, let me put up a poll. So in that poll, I asked, and maybe if you're listening to this, maybe you remember this back then. I asked like, hey, if I made like a simple t-shirt, I promise you it won't be a shit t-shirt. It'll be a decent t-shirt. You'll have my logo on it and I'll sell it for as cheap as I can. My price will basically be, for me, it will be just break even. Like I'm not even trying to profit off of this, but I can see the good in having merch so all of us can feel even more connected and be part of a community, like kind of like a team jersey, right? I could see the good in that. So, I put that poll out. I said, hey, so if I were to do this, would you be interested in it? And in that time, I remember it was like in 1 hour, there was like 500 votes, 97% said yes. So then that's when I decided, okay, you know what? Okay, it's time to make merch. So I started to make merch, 2019, December. Guess what happens right after that? 2020 and COVID. Oh, we're supposed to call it the Rona. 2020 and the Rona. The beginning stages of making the merch took a lot longer than I estimated. It took until about 2020 of August before I had my first batch out. And by that time, I saw how the Rona hit. 2020 was a surreal year. It was like industry shut down. I have friends of friends. I knew so many people that just suddenly lost their jobs. I knew people that were thriving in the tourist industry and suddenly they have like zero business. Like it wasn't even like this year's not doing as well as last year. It's they went from having a booming business to nothing at all. And so it felt like, everybody was hurting. It was a tough time that everybody was going through that was affecting everybody. And so when it came to my merch, it made me change perspective. I started to feel I didn't want to sell merch anymore because I don't want to take your money. 2019, before the Rona happened, yeah, it felt like the world was doing well. If you had extra cash and you wanted my merch, I don't think that's a problem. That's pretty cool. I'd say thank you for supporting me and wanting to be part of the community. But after the Rona happened, after 2020, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I'd love for you to have my merch, but I don't want your money. We're all hurting. Everybody is hurting. I'm lucky that I can still do this on the side. I could make the merch and it's not hurting me much at all. Of course, if it was hurting me, I wouldn't have done it. The fact that I've invested into the merch, my shift in thinking was, okay, I love my audience. I love everyone here in the community. I still want merch to be a thing. There's still going to be a shop, but I still want this merch to be in the hands of my audience. So instead of trying to get people to buy my merch, my goal now is to try to get people to wear my merch. And so the efforts of trying to sell my merch became like zero. And the effort to try to make as many giveaways as I could that still made sense financially became my number one priority. I'm not sharing this story to like toot my own horn or anything or, tell you, see how great I am. It's not that. It's like, I feel like this is what Gary Vee freaking taught me. This is pre-NFT Gary Vee's mindset. This is like, dude, take care of your audience. World changes. If you're in a position to make the change, make the change. Don't let your audience be hurt. If you can protect them, protect them. And so that's what I did. I'm hoping I can protect everybody. But with Gary Vee's NFTs, I feel, whoa, you're not protecting anybody. You're now hurting them. And how could you keep doing that? I don't know if within the past few years, Gary talked about it at all because I don't really follow his content anymore. But I still followed him a couple of months into his V Friends and all that. There was just no public statement from Gary. There was just his mods answering these people that really messed up and the mods just saying, sorry, nothing we can do about it, and leaving it at that. I never heard Gary come out and talk about it. I never heard Gary come out and address it. And I'm somebody that follows content closely, right? When Gary's making stuff, I see his IG content. I'm listening to his podcast. I don't follow a lot of people, but the people I follow everything they're doing. I mean, that's why I follow them. I'm not following for numbers or for fun. But yeah, I wanted to share this story because I think it's a preface to a lot of other things I'll share in the future episodes, a lot of stories that I want to dive deeper into. In a way, I feel this whole like Gary Vee NFT arc, it kind of contributed to my burnout as well because it was around the same time and I had lost my direction in life and where I wanted to go with content and all of that. And the person that I looked up to was going in a direction that I fully disagreed on, that I just, as much as I love the guy, as much as I'm thankful and grateful for him, what he's doing now, I do not agree with. It just felt like I lost everything at the same time. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I need some feedback. Like, you got to tell me, like, do you enjoy hearing stuff about content creation and all the other jazz? Because if you're into it, I think I could go a little bit deeper into it. I don't want to go too deep because I'm afraid a lot of people are here just for the fitness and nutrition stuff. And I still want to hold true to that. But there's also a lot of things I want to talk about that I don't exactly want another podcast to talk about other stuff. I want everything to be here. That's why I leave it for the end part to talk about the non-fitness and nutrition stuff. So, if you find it boring, all right, it's totally understandable. You can skip out this final part. But, what do you think? Let me know what you think and what other stuff you want me to react to or have my opinion on. I'd love to know. And of course, again, just want to say thank you for the warm welcome after the first episode. It's really heartwarming, helped my confidence immensely recording this episode. And so what's going on next week? Next week, I'll still have another episode, but next week is Chinese New Year. So if you celebrate, I just want to wish you a happy New Year, a happy year of the rabbit. Typically for me, Chinese New Year is really just a big meal with the extended family. And usually on that day, I don't count calories or anything. It's just one big meal. Usually the next day, I'm already back on track. The special thing about Chinese New Year here in Taipei is that Taipei becomes a ghost town because everyone goes back to their homes, which is usually not Taipei. Most people come to Taipei for work. But Taipei just happens to be my home, so I end up staying here. So I'll be enjoying the ghost town for the week next week. The whole of Taiwan has the whole of next week off because of Chinese New Year. And so it's going to be, a nice quiet week. But I'm not taking a break from the podcast or the weekly letters, so expect those to still come. That's it for today. See you next time. Thank you so much. Peace.